What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode number 192 of Park to Prem here with Towel Town, and I am finally saying that for the last time. Yes, this is the last quote-unquote proper episode, I suppose. Today we are going to do a big deep dive into the save, an overview of some of the record holders, the stats, my manager profile, club legends, all that good stuff. And of course, just as a little reminder, we're not going to go too crazily deep in this today, although I've said it's a deep dive, simply because at the weekend we are going to be live streaming a kind of Q&A session where we go through the save as a whole. I'm aware, last video, just yesterday, I know this is how quickly I changed my mind, I said that was going to be at 2 PM. It's actually going to be a little bit earlier. It's going to be at midday British summer time. That is the time that these videos have been going up as of late. So it's kind of, when you'd normally sit down to watch Town or Town, go to Twitch and we'll be live there. If you're wondering the reason why, I may have forgotten that the Formula 1 was on at 2 o'clock when I said, yeah, we'll do 2 o'clock in yesterday's video. So I will issue a public apology for that, but normal episode time, go to Twitch, we'll be live going through the save game. And, well, hopefully you're looking forward to it. So today, as I said, we're going to have a look through the record holders, past seasons. Of course, when there's 19 years to get through, it's a little bit tricky. I feel like the most logical starting point, to be honest, is the manager profile, because this is the thing that's perhaps changed the most over the years, but it contains a lot of information as to what we've done. Of course, you can see here our characteristics, lots of bars filled up nice and highly. You can, of course, pause if you want to read through all of these different known fors, although, I'll be honest, about half of them are just to do with how I like to sign players under the age of 21. Of course, we had that brief stint as England manager. If you're wondering, Jack, how have England done since you left 4 years ago? It's a valid question. I mean, look at it. They've dropped off. They're now the 4th best team in the world. So that's definitely because I left, even though it occurred 2 years after I left. If we just look at their schedule, obviously we left in 2034. In the last few years, they made it to the Euro finals and won against France. That's awkward. That wasn't meant to be there. And of course, the World Cup, where we lost to France, was our previous achievement. So actually, fair play to the manager. Ahead of the World Cup, they've done quite well without me. I don't really have an excuse. I mean, it's going to be very awkward if now England win a World Cup and Towel do way better without me, because suddenly I look like I was the problem. Maybe I should start taking up a general manager position where I don't actually manage the team during games, I just do all the transfer dealings. Anyway, you can see here, if we just look at our attributes, this is what we ended up with, which, compared to when we started, and we had absolutely no coaching badges, no experience, none of that stuff, it's improved quite a lot over the 19 years. Interesting to note that our system that we ended up settling on towards the end of the save game is now listed as our preferred formation. Lots of people with positive relationships with us, including Colly Sacco, which I love to see. Of course, the Frenchman played for us once upon a time, way back in League One. Only spent 3 years with us, but for some reason, we've just stuck in his heart, which I think, shows that I've made him the man he is today. If we look at the manager overview, 6,916 days as manager of Towel. That ain't too bad, is it? 37 awards, 0 days spent on holiday. That is, frame it. Take a screenshot of that, Jack. Put it in a picture frame. Total players bought, 445. Total players sold, 300 exactly. That's oddly satisfying, isn't it? You can see here we've actually made a profit on sales of about £400 million over the years, which is kind of testament to the wheeling and dealing that we've done, especially when you consider that without Mike Frost, those numbers would even be, even greater in difference. 300 million spent on Mike Frost. I don't think I'm ever going to spend 300 million on a player ever again. I mean, he won a few Ballon d'Ors, to be fair to him, even when he joined us, but I don't think he could have done anything to justify his cost, unless he'd done what Shvetsov did, but, well, he didn't, did he? Obviously, top player sold, Roger McCassie. If you were wondering, how did he do in his last season? He did pretty blooming good. Lots of green across the board. And I assume that PSG won the French league. That would be a logical, assumption, given how France tends to work in Football Manager. You can see here, in terms of our stats at Towel Town, 1,031 games played, 679 won, 173 drawn, 179 lost. Goals for 2,343. That's a very big number, isn't it? Goals against and goal difference, you can see here. Win percentage of 65. 11 cup wins, 11 league wins, 1 league relegation. Oh, we will talk about that in due course. And of course, if you were to include England in the action, there's no new cups, leagues, promotions or relegations, and there's just not a great deal of success. Let's just pretend that the whole England phase didn't happen, right? You know, let's just pretend it never occurred, because it wasn't the most successful period ever. You can see here a big overview of our history at Towlaw. Only on 2 seasons did we never win a trophy at Towlaw. They were the season we finished second in the Championship, and, the season that we got relegated from the Premiership. They're the 2 years where we didn't win an award or a competition, but not a bad little trophy cabinet, if I might say so myself. A couple of awards this year, not as many Manager of the Months. You can see a couple, last year actually, won Manager of the Month so many times. 6 times we won it in the year. I'm pretty sure we won Manager of the Year as well. It says Manager of the Month 6 times, but there's 7 cups. Is one of these not a Manager of the Month cup? Man, I wish the engraving was a little bit bigger. Of course, 4 competition wins. You can kind of see here how the dominance has really just kicked on in recent years, to a point now where I feel quite content walking our way. We've won everything that we could. Yes, we've not done it all at once, but ultimately to win 4 cup competitions this year, I feel like is still a pretty good high to go out on. And, if we just have a look at the club info, of course, we moved into our stadium in 2029. I know it feels like way longer ago than that, but yeah, the Towlaw Town Stadium has only been built for 9 seasons. I saw loads of comments saying, Jack, you need to play to the 20 season mark, to the point where they'll build you a new ground, but, well, that would be another 11 years, which is a little bit too long for me. Of course, you can see here our honours won the Champions League once, the Premier League 4 times, UEFA Super Cup, Emirates FA Cup, Carabao Cup as well on a number of occasions, which is great to see. If you just have a look at the general overview of the club, 5-star reputation. I think we are now considered, we're not quite, I was about to say, I think we're now considered the biggest team in England. We're not. Interestingly enough, Craig Austin is one of the top players for the England national team, despite the fact he never ever plays for us. I say never ever. He probably should have played a bit more, to be honest, this year, the 21-year-old. I expect this guy to be absolutely incredible in the years to come. If I was going to make a bold prediction, potential future captaincy material at Towlaw Town, Craig Austin, if he decides to stay at the club. Obviously, you can see all this stuff here. Morrigan, still club captain. Interested to see how long he lasts without us in the coming kind of days as we do holiday into the future. If you did miss yesterday's video or maybe didn't catch it, I will be holidaying into the future with the database. I'm going to try and go forward maybe even 50 years, but certainly kind of 1 season, 5 seasons, 10 seasons, 25. And we'll have a big look through everything that's been achieved in our absence, which I'm hoping they're not going to be too successful, but I suspect they will be because their team is really, really good. And to be fair, I feel like we underachieved in terms of Europe in the last couple of years. It's a bit annoying, really. Despite the fact Football Manager has dynamic rivalries, our only rival is still Concert, who we played, I think, once in our second season or twice in our second season in the league. They started off 1 division ahead of us. Of course, we beat them on those occasions, but we've never seen them since. But, besides them, no other rivals to speak of, obviously. You can see here our kind of finances. We're rich. This stuff doesn't matter, does it, really? We have 13,300 season ticket holders. Just as a reminder, our stadium only holds 14,800 fans. So when you consider away fans probably make up about 1,000 fans, there are only about 500 non-season ticket holder tickets every year. So the hot ticket in town is watching Towlaw Town play, as it turns out. Anyway, you can see here club legends Henry Kumwenda, Andre Dazelle, Andrei Shvetsov and ourselves. I love to see Kumwenda up here because he was an unsung hero, to a point. I feel like he's a player who a lot of people who hop into the series midway through probably wouldn't really appreciate what he did for us. But this guy was a little game changer for us. Of course, came back to the club. We gave him one last payday for 7 years. Not a bad career over the 17 years for him. The schoolboy, he became a man, he did his thing, and he's remembered as a legend by the club alongside the likes of Andre Dazelle. Perhaps the most overperforming player in the save game. I feel like what he achieved with us, during our years in League 2 actually, all the way up to the Premier League is pretty impressive. Unfortunately, we don't have his full history anymore, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, what he was able to achieve as our deep line playmaker was huge for us. And of course, unsurprisingly, Andrei Shvetsov, I think for most people this is the player of the save, and it's hard to disagree really, isn't it? When he joined us in the Championship, whilst we were on an upward trajectory, courtesy of Andre Dozell, I feel like this guy was the difference maker. You know, that season where he got his work permit, he was the reason I think we got to the Premier League as soon as we did. Of course, we got relegated in a season where he got 33 goals in the league, which is absolutely nuts. I'm pleased to say that wasn't his peak, that 33 goal season. Of course, many years later, he did have two 36 goal seasons. He has over, I think, 300 Premier League goals, or no, over 200 Premier League goals, I should say, which is huge. He is the second highest goal scorer in Premier League history. Still a little way behind Alan Shearer, but it'll be interesting to see if he can overtake him in the coming years. In terms of icons, Sonny Best is there, of course. He is still at the club as a coach. Leighton Stewart, still at the club as a coach, or not as a coach, as a scout. And actually, he's not a terrible scout either, which is quite promising. I love the fact that Dylan Turnbull is up here as well. Of course, a player who in, the last few years, he's not been that mainstay of the first team, but there was very much a chunk where him and Shvetsov were attached at the hip and rather inseparable. You know, they were a duo. They played as a strike partnership for the best part of 6 seasons, maybe even 7 seasons if you want to be generous and include the 2034-35 season. That's a long time for any strike partnership, and obviously whilst his role in the first team has diminished, he still does absolute bits for us. Kevin Kaiser also kind of the first of, I guess, the next generation of Town Town players making themselves an icon, a player who obviously we signed for absolute peanuts when his contract was expiring at Groningen. You can see obviously he's now played 6 seasons at the club, and his level of performance has just been so consistent over those years. It's kind of a little bit mad. He is the Dutch Andre Dozell, dare I say. In terms of favourite personnel, another deep line playmaker. Town love their deep line playmakers. It's obviously been a constant of our systems here from the very beginning, and Leskinen ticks that box. Despite the fact he's fled to Arsenal, we forgive him. He is still favourite. Mike Frost up here as well, not entirely surprising. Even though he's coming for a huge sum of money, it's difficult to ignore the fact that over the last 3 years he's got 18 goals, 19 goals, 17 goals, and then average ratings way above the 7.25 mark. In fact, this year a 7.54 is absolutely insane in terms of average rating. So as much as we meme on him not being worth the price, he is up there. I'm a little surprised that Cancina makes the list as a favourite personnel because, to be honest, he's never been a super regular player. This year he actually had one of his better years in terms of performances, but didn't really show it in terms of goal scoring. Yeah, I'm surprised. He's only played 4 seasons and he's not played super regularly for us, so I will question the fans' judgment on him being favourite personnel. Steve Norman, I'm inclined to agree with, a player who has just grown so much at the club. I feel like, unlike Cancino, this guy really contributed to the first team in massive ways. He was a reason we were able to win games. I can pinpoint matches where this man was the difference maker, whereas that doesn't really exist for Claudio Cancino. But I don't know, he's only 24 and this is how good he is. I feel like in any other save game where Frost doesn't exist and isn't playing for us, this man is just our star striker. And I do have a sneaking suspicion because I don't expect the AI to play with 3 strikers, and often I was playing that just to facilitate Shvetsov. I do have this horrible feeling he's just not going to play and that Norman, Cancino and Frost are just going to dominate the striking position, and Shvetsov might find himself on the fringes. Anyway, Holman, another one of the players currently at the club who is included in the favourite personnel, a recent entry, but with a 7.73 average rating season this year. Not entirely surprising to see why he's been given that. It's absolutely huge, and a huge step up from his previous season performances. Entering his prime now, age 28, I'm quite excited to see what he is able to achieve. And of course, a couple of names that I did just skip over here because I wanted to come back to them afterwards. Legends of the save game, Russell Shuttleworth. Do you have many players who play for you in the National League and go on to make 33 appearances in the Premier League just 6 seasons later? That doesn't happen. Now, let's be honest, he didn't really do it in the Premier League that year where we were relegated, but he was one of the Championship greats. They call him the Wesley Hoolahan of England. Just a player who has consistently been able to do it at Championship level. He is remembered for his antics because he was one of the reasons, alongside Shvetsov, why we were promoted so quickly up through the leagues. And of course, James Molyneux, who joined us in League One, if I'm not mistaken. You can see here, joined us for £71,000. Yes, he was only at the club for 5 years, but you consider his goal scoring in both League One and the Championship. He was another reason that we were able to get those quick promotions. And in fact, I feel like his season in the Championship where he got 25 goals and 14 assists, that's the kind of season that goes down in folklore. Townlaw Town fans across the land will be talking of James Molyneux and Jimmy Molyneux's achievements. Of course, joined us at absolutely nothing from Molyneux. Of course, that being the name of Wolverhampton Wanderers Stadium. But for £71,000, not a bad little spend. Probably should have sold him whilst he was still hot. Of course, never really did it after the 1 year in the Premier League. But you can see he has made a life for himself in France, yo-yoing between Ligue 1 and Ligue 2 over the years with FC Lorient, where he has continued to show his loyalty to a club. Anyway, if we just look at the facilities, of course, the Townlaw Town Stadium is our stadium. You can see the facilities here, although they are just about at the best that they can be, with the exception of the corporate facilities, but state-of-the-art across the board. Affiliates, something that I never really talked a great deal about, and to be honest, we never greatly benefited from our affiliates, but here are our affiliates. I feel like there's a few new ones that I never really talked about, but in truth, I kind of secured them hoping, maybe we'll get some sick Argentine regen through our intake, or maybe we'll get some great Australian regen through our intake. And it just never really happened, which is just a shame, really. But yeah, here are the affiliates that we ended up with. Of course, Coventry no longer one, although without a doubt the most famous of the Townlaw Town affiliates. We developed an affiliation with them back when they were in League 1. They got back-to-back promotions, and then the last few years they've scraped by in the Premier League despite always being the favourites for the drop. And then this year they've come 6th when they were predicted to finish 20th. I mean, that's an insane season for Coventry. 20 wins. They won more than half their matches. Of course, they did beat us, which I don't want to acknowledge. But yeah, fair play Coventry. One of the success stories when it comes to our affiliates here at the club. Anyway, here we can have a look at the club history. Look at that trophy cabinet. The memories that exist here. Shout out to our under-23s for winning us a few leasing.com trophies. Of course, the one in 2027 was our own trophy that we won. That was our first team playing in League 1 that won that. But yeah, so many fond memories over the year. Of course, there will be an extra Premier League notch added to the club history in due course. But what a set of seasons here. I'm not going to go through all of the league seasons, and in fact, actually, for the leagues that I've unloaded, we can no longer see the full league history, which is a bit of a shame. But as I progressed through the leagues, in order to speed up the save game, I needed to cut tiers off the bottom of the database. When you have 10 tiers in a pyramid, you can end up with like 40 divisions that are just not needed at the bottom, so we did have to cut them off. But if we just look through, of course, we climbed up through the first leagues very, very quickly, which is to be expected, right? You know, with the right recruitment, you can do very good things. Of course, the Vanarama National, we climbed through. Our affiliates, Boston United, winning it the year before us, which feels a little bit weird to see now. Then in the National League, of course, we won the playoffs. Remember that? I'm trying to remember the team that won us that playoffs. So it was the likes of was Shuttleworth there then? Yeah, he was. Shuttleworth, DKM. We had Scott Wern. I think Kumwenda scored, if I'm not mistaken, in the final. Is there a reason that we can look at the playoffs, or a way that we can look at the playoffs? Can we? We can. We can't see the full detail of exactly who won. I feel like this could descend into a Townlaw pub quiz. If you can remember who scored for Townlaw in the 2-1 win against Chester in 2025, get it down in the comments. Of course, the next year, League 2, back-to-back promotions. I always feel like League 2 is a lot easier league to get out of, just because there's way more promotion spots, obviously. I feel like the quality between the leagues isn't as great, and we clearly showed that there. The next season, the CC season, I think is what it will be remembered for. The season where we finished third, we bottled it really towards the end. And then going into the playoffs, I had so much in the way of hopes and expectations. We were 3-1 up, and then we lost the second leg 3-0, where CC got sent off. Where is CC? Let's go find out, shall we? He's playing in Saudi Arabia, from the looks of things. Is this Saudi Arabia? It is a Saudi Arabian club. I mean, fair play. He's collecting a paycheck, I suppose. He was always unambitious. He's on £74,000 a week. That is just silly, isn't it? Of course, we sold him on for 30 million. He moved from Lazio to Al Ali for, as you can see here, 14.75 million. So it looks like we sold him at the right time, of course. We got him in on a free for 1 year. He completely bottled it in the playoffs. We sold him for 9 million, brought him back for more, sold him on for more. We made profit in the end, everyone. So yeah, that was that year where we bottled the playoffs. But the good news was the very next year we did win the league convincingly. That extra year definitely helped us out. 100 goals scored for. which at the time we thought was an insane achievement. But of course, we'd gone to better that in future years, including the season in the Championship where just scoring more than everyone else was the name of the game. 118 goals scored for. Of course, this season was the season where we had James Molyneux scoring, we had Andrei Shvetsov scoring, Turnbull chipped in with a few as well, Shuttleworth was getting assists for fun. And we got a very unexpected promotion, but the issue with that promotion was we weren't ready for the Premier League. And of course, in quite dramatic fashion, we missed out despite setting a very, very high points total. 37 points in a lot of seasons would be enough to keep you up. Unfortunately, what we learnt was that we can't just attack. And despite the fact that we had the 4th most goals scored in the league, a minus 13 goal difference saw us get relegated, which actually, when you look at it, that's a very reasonable goal difference, to the point where you go, man, we won some games convincingly, and actually we just lost games by slender margins. In fact, looking at it, we can actually get a full breakdown of results here. Of course, we beat Norwich 9-1. Let us not forget. So actually, what I've just said might not make a lot of sense, because I think we did actually get battered in a few games. But you can see there, like 1-0 against Villa, 1-0 against Southampton, 2-1 against Everton and Spurs away from home, 2-1 against Brighton away, 3-2 against West Brom at home. Those are games which, I mean, if we'd won just 2 of them, that would have been enough to see us safe. In fact, you know, Sheffield United's points tally of 41 was a very, very high bar that was set that year when we went down. But we came back and we came back stronger. Of course, we didn't win the Championship again. We finished second, but with over 100 points, it was a pretty mean feat. And that was a year where we did obviously start to bring in a lot of youngsters. The likes of Andre came into the team. You know, the Erics were given a chance, if you can remember those. And off the back of that, the big success story, really, getting promoted back to the Premier League with a young, exciting squad hungry for goals. We were able to continue to score, but defensively we were just so much better. The number of clean sheets you can see here in wins really illustrates just how solid we were in that regard. I don't know if we can look at team detailed stats for that year. No, we can't. I wish there was is there a history of stats? I don't think there is. Can we look at a specific year? We can't. Football Manager, please, add more stats. I want them all. Give me XG. Give me all this other stuff. But anyway, we got promoted. That 5th place finish was good. And then 4th place, 3rd place, and then finally 1st place. A quick little ascent. I actually feel like the relegation that we had was really beneficial, because that year in the Championship, we just used it to give all our best young prospects that we had signed as a result of being in the Premier League and being able to attract them. Just, you know, it gave us 46 games to allow them to grow in a slightly less competitive league where they could really excel, be at the top of their games. And that gave us a platform, I feel like, to springboard up. Anyway, you can see here the full extent of the trophy list. You can see Morrigan holds the clean sheets the record for most clean sheets in a season with 31. That's a pretty good season, isn't it? And Shvetsov holds the record for most man of the matches in a season with 13. This season just gone, he got 10. So not quite beating the record there. You can see here a listed history of all the years that we won all the various competitions. I will scroll down. You can pause it in your own time if you want to read it. But yeah, we won a lot of stuff. And even in the youth level, stuff that I've not really talked about a great lot, we did quite well when it came to the Under-18s League. You know, won the Under-18s Premier League a few times. The Developmental League, we've been pretty good in over the years. In fact, you look at it now, we've won it so many years in a row, and we absolutely dominate it. You know, the Under-23s, they don't know what's hit them, basically. The glory, I suppose, of just hoarding in youngsters is that you get to revel in your youth team's successes. But yes, not a bad set of honours, really. If we just look at domestic leagues over the years, here's a quite nice screen, because this includes some of the early years that we can have a full look at. But yeah, not a bad few seasons across the board, it would be fair to say. And very, very nice, of course, last year to finally get an unbeaten season. We got close to it in our second year where we lost 2. Obviously, a few years before we went unbeaten, we only lost 1. And, lost 0. You love to see it. If we just look at landmarks of the club, oh my word, this is going to be way too much in the way of details. Finances, obviously, Alexander Mucking came in as a tycoon in 2024. I'm going to make a statement here. I actually think he's the worst tycoon that I've ever seen in Football Manager. He really didn't invest much extra money into the club. It just wasn't really a thing from him. But yeah, he was a tycoon by all accounts, and of course he withdrew his funding 3 years ago, which, I mean, we're grateful for what he offered. I don't know if he really changed things a great deal. Of course, you can see here our facilities in our stadium history, relocating to Darlington Road, then to the Gateshead International Stadium, finally moving into our new stadium in 2029, and of course maintaining our top facilities and new facilities over the years as we did upgrade them. Anyway, let's have a look at the records, and we'll go to overview for modern day here. Look at this stuff. Andrei Shvetsov, 269 league goals, of course, some of those in the Championship, so he hasn't got the Premier League record. Our highest league position, first in the Premier League, most points in a season, 102. That was, of course, when we got promoted from the Championship the second time, where you play significantly more games. It's going to be difficult to beat that record, and the most goals scored in a season, you'd imagine. Given the fact that we are playing in a league with significantly fewer games. Fewest goals in the season, 64. I feel like that's a pretty good indicator of how successful we were when 64 goals in the season was our least amount. Highest attendance was against Aston Villa. That was the first time that we had a sellout ground or a sellout stadium at our new ground. So that it was never going to get better. The fact that we've been selling out consistently for 7 years is a little bit annoying. In terms of how we weren't able to upgrade. But let's not forget that we weren't always averaging that many fans. And our lowest attendance of 77 back on a cold winter's day against Jarrow. Man, that feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Biggest win, 15-0 against Supersport in the FIFA Club World Cup. I had the privilege of live commenting that game for you guys, of course. Highest scoring league game was a 6-4 result against Sheffield United, which, if I remember correctly, we lost. So that's good. Obviously, we've already talked about the highest spender. It was, of course, Frost. It was, of course, Frost. And in fact, you can see here, if we just look at the history of all transfers, the big transfers of the years. Remember Deshaun Bernard? Me too. Jan Matcher, still playing at Tottenham after we sold him to them many, many years ago for 33 million. He's been a pretty regular member of their team, although I don't think he's particularly stand out. Obviously, these are the highest fees paid. If we look at the highest fees received, yeah, we got some pretty good money over the year, didn't we? Remember CC going... Cyril Baumann, a very interesting player, currently plays for Nantes. We sold him for £10 million, which when you look at this polygon, you'd think is mental, until you realise he moved for £42 million to Gladbach. Now, you might be thinking, Jack, what happened? Did he get a really bad injury that's seen him decline like this? No, he didn't. Gladbach were just smoking something really good that I wish I could have a drag of, because they spent 42 million on him and he was absolutely awful. And then they sold him on for £4 million years later. Vinko Kosic, of course, still at the club, back at the club now. We're going to look to sell him on for a profit, or rather, I mean, I guess we can offer him out before we resign at the end of the episode, although I don't know if anyone's going to come in for him. Omar Gok, you might remember as a player that we sold, went, of course, to Manchester City, then went to Lazio, has been on loan at Sheffield United this year. I feel like this guy is not particularly loyal. Interesting the fact that he obviously has now played for Lazio twice over the years as well. A Lazio Hall of Famer, dare I say. Of course, the likes of Palazzolo going out to Aston Villa. I've got to acknowledge it because I've seen it in the comments a few times. Nico Roth, our former player, playing right back for Villa, got 13 assists this season, which was the best in the Premier League. I saw some people say, Jack, do you not wish you'd kept hold of him now? And I'm going to be honest, everyone. Not really, no. I feel like Aurelio is a much, much better player. Sure, the mentals might not be quite as good. I guess another good player to compare him to would be Alex Boyo. If we just compare Nico Roth with him. Actually, no, that's not a good example. Tennell's a better example. Tennell is a better example. But no, I don't really regret selling him. Look, at the end of the day, Nico has put in a really good performance. I've just compared Alex Boyo to Tennell. Let's just move on. I'm rattled, clearly. But the reason that I'm not that bothered about about Roth, is because he never really did it for us. Like, he put in some okay seasons, and sure, he's put in a load of assists, but defensively, he's been quite poor at Villa. So, yeah, I don't know. On the one hand, yes, it's nice and a bit annoying perhaps to see a former player doing so well. On the other hand, I don't see it as the end of the world, really. Anyway, you can see here Marlon Ox, of course, going to Shanghai, where he still plays the German fullback. Roberto Gonzalez, he's now playing for Watford, coincidentally. Played for West Ham in the Premier League, got 8 goals in 33. They sold him on for 36 million a year later. So, For all the Nico Roths in the world, I like to believe there's a few transfers like this one where we got above and beyond what we really should have been getting for a player. I think that's quite a good example. Anyway, Charlie Welland, the first player we ever sold for a big sum of money. Remember him? Yeah, he was a snake, wasn't he? Rodri, you might be wondering what became of Rodri. He retired prematurely. Poor guy. Luke Gouda as well, now a manager. I think he actually has a positive opinion of us, which is interesting to see. And of course, Alex Lindsay. You know, a few of these players that we sold on for reasonable money did retire kind of prematurely. I don't think they were as good as we thought they were, which is why we got rid of them when we did. Anyway, those some of the transfer stuff for you. In terms of the player history, most goals by a player, Shvetsov with 50 in a season. He did that this year, so fair play to him. Most league goals by a player, 38 by Shvetsov. That was when we were in the championship. Andre Dazelle, highest average rating, 7.85. That is absolutely nuts. Although Claudio Holman didn't get a world away from it. Youngest player ever was Sam Brownhill in our very first season. He retired and I can't even click on him anymore. So that tells you all you need to know about how good he actually ended up being. Pascal Chimbonda, our oldest ever player to play. I love the fact that a player that played in our first season, aged 41, is our oldest ever player. Mampala, you can see here, getting the fastest goal in 11 seconds. Shvetsov's most goals in a match with 10. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's probably not going to be beaten, and I'd be surprised if any of you watching have beaten that in your own save games. Most goals by a player in a league game, Andrei Shvetsov with a double hat-trick against Norwich, the first and only double hat-trick in Premier League history. Most assists by a player in a season, Norman up there. Clean sheets goes to Morrigan. Player of the matches goes to Shvetsov. Youngest goal scorer was actually Brownhill. Again, it's not playing anymore, so that tells you a lot. Alexis Sanchez, retired, but was our oldest ever goal scorer when he scored in League 2. Man, that feels like a fever dream when Alexis Sanchez played for us. Was that real? I'm not convinced. And then you can see here, most games without losing, 60 games. That ain't too bad, is it? Most matches won in a row, you can see the records here. Most games lost in a row. That's really good. It's not bad, really, is it, to lose one in a row? Looking at it, in terms of matches won in a row, we've never lost more than 4 matches in a row. In 19 years, that's pretty good. Without losing 60 games, that's good. I'll give ourselves that. Most games without winning, this is a slightly different one. 8 games without winning back in 2025-26. Games without conceding. Actually, that's been over the last few years that we've really set a good defensive record. We set 5 this year, just gone. 6 is our record, which we've actually set on a few occasions. And most matches without scoring. That's pretty good as well, isn't it? Some of these I've never even looked at before, so it's interesting to see. If we just look at league positions, obviously you can't really read too much into these, but here are our bests and lowest league positions. I think this is at any point during the season. Yeah, we were bottom of the Premier League for a while, weren't we, that first year in the league? Let's not discuss that year too much. In terms of average attendances, obviously the average has just been locked at the kind of max capacity for a very, very long time now. Slightly fluctuating maybe for 1 or 2 games, but obviously sometimes people's cars break down on the way to games, so you're not going to get everyone through the turnstiles every day of the week. Biggest wins you can see here, that SuperSport United game, I think is going to go down in folklore. The 8-1 win against Everton this year was very good, and of course 9-1 against Norwich. We've had some pretty big wins over the years, haven't we, now that you look at it? In terms of sequences, we just looked through these. In terms of players, most goals in a season. I mean, some will claim that this series wasn't just Shvetsov scoring a load of goals. I believe this was actually Shvetsov's simulation that we're all living in. Yeah, over the last however many seasons this is, I think it's over the last 10 seasons, he's been top goal scorer in 9 of them, which is pretty good. Most league goals in a season, I mean, you can see here, names of times gone by. Ryan Ferguson, it would not be an end-of-season wrap-up if I didn't mention his contributions over the years. 49 goals in 70 games. The first few years, he was the big player alongside Henrik and Wender, who you can see between him and Leighton Stewart, what a tag team that was in the early years of the save games. In terms of highest average ratings through the years, you can see them here. Mike Frost actually setting the highest average rating across all competitions. Sonny Best in year 1. Yeah, it'd be wrong if he didn't appear somewhere in the stats. There you go. Most player of the match awards in a season. Nice bit of variety here. Good to see Manasseh Mampala make an appearance. It's weird, actually. There's so many players here who I'm just going to hold with me, I feel like, until the end of the days. If we just look at Fans Player of the Year, this is a nice way to look at things, isn't it? Kumwenda with 3, Warrington with 1. Remember Lewis Warrington? He was not a bad little playmaker during the early days of our time here. Andre Dazelle, Leskinen, Cancina actually got it on one occasion. Sonny Best in the first year. Oh, I'm getting nostalgic just looking at it. And we've already looked through a load of the transfer stuff as well when it comes to the records. Anyway, on to the best 11, and I hope I'm doing this justice by going through in a deep dive. I realise if someone was to come across for the first time and this be the first video they see, they'd go, man, this is really dry. This is just a guy reading off a spreadsheet. But I don't know. I feel like that's always what this episode was going to be, really, just looking through all the stats and stuff. So I am going to... do I want to flick through all the seasons? I'm going to flick through them. If you notice anything interesting, please mention it if you catch it. But I think the reality is, look, I could go through all of these seasons and we would be here for years reminiscing over some of these names. Remember Jermaine Anderson? Poor guy. Released him after he got a red card, you might remember. Malcolm Boxall, there's a name I've not heard in a while. Joe Hand's making an appearance. And he's actually still playing football, which you absolutely love to see. He's actually been playing in the Football League for the best part of a decade, which... I don't know, that gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside, actually, knowing that he's played as consistently as he did at the Football League level. DKM, out on the left-hand side, retired from football. Wern, out on the right. I think this was probably the year, in fact, yeah, I could tell from the start of 11, but this is the year we got promoted from the National League. Curtis Jones there as well. Retired early. It's not fair. James Norris, now a manager. He actually had a pretty long career playing, for various league teams after us. I feel like many players just retired after their final days with us. They just couldn't go on. Jacobs is a player who I've not thought about in years, my word. He was really good for us back in the day. It looks like he's had a crazy decline. I would not be surprised if he's had a load of long-term injuries, or just a load of injuries in general, as it would turn out. But he's fallen off the pace. Needham and Dazelle, of course, played along each other. Remember when we had Embleton in on loan? Yeah, he's now a director of football, which is interesting to see. Rashada, I saw someone tweet me actually on Twitter, which if you're not following me at this point and you've got to this bit in the video, I mean, you're doing Twitter wrong, firstly. But someone tweeted me because it was this guy's birthday a couple of days ago in real life, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, yeah, you can see here, the 24th of July, the Swansea City Twitter account tweeted out about it, and someone asked me, Jack, did he used to play for you in Park to Prem? Yeah, it's weird how that works out. It's like different universes colliding. And it's weird when you start recognising 18-year-olds who play for Swansea's academy as just, players from a Football Manager save game. Oh, the championship team, the first time we got promoted, is a throwback, isn't it? Kosic in the team, Molyneux and Shvetsov, Shuttleworth on the right, Mr. Dessa in at right back, now playing for Manchester United. I'm not really over that, if I'm going to be honest. Williamson as well in at centre-back, now playing for Dynamo Kiev. What a weird career he ended up having. Did absolutely nothing for Celtic. Now he's just living it up in the Ukraine. I'm not even going to knock him. Also, where did Reis end up, the Portuguese left-back? He ended up back in Portugal. A few of these players have had wild careers where they've gone on to weird places. And I must confess, just flicking through these teams here, including this squad here where we got relegated, there's just names that pop up and I go, oh yeah, they were a thing. Remember Pittman at left-back, or Maggi doing his magic shows? He's playing for West Brom. He's actually a pretty good centre-back, all things considering as well. It's also mad that he's only 28. He was playing for us when he was 20. Anyway, this was the season we got promoted back to the Premier League. This is the team that got us 5th place in the Premier League the very first season back. Remember Adrian Highland? Oh my word, the throwbacks. The throwbacks are everywhere. Soretta was in that team. Tizzy was in that team. He's now playing for PSG. GCL, are you still tearing it up? No, you're not. I was going to say he's still tearing it up in Lazio. No, he's ended up in China, everyone, where he's just tearing it up in China instead. Fair play to him. Go and earn your paycheck, son. Obviously, Turnbull and Shvetsov up front there. And then from here onwards, this is the upwards trajectory. Andy Eric had a very good season. You might remember last year in the Bundesliga. Didn't quite match it this year. A 7.76 average rating in his first season was absolutely mad. I was about to say only a 7.19 this year. That's still a pretty good average rating by all accounts. Of course, Maticevic and Andre in the team there. And then, well, we start to get onto the modern era of Towler as things really got more attacking. this was our final team's Dream 11 for this most recent season. And here's the overall team. This is what we're here for, the main event. And, well, to be fair, not a bad little list of players. You kind of forget that because of how quickly we rose up through the leagues, it's difficult for some of the lower league players to maintain a spot in the, the Dream 11. Shvetsov, highest league appearances and just highest appearances across the board. 480 games played, 1 goal away from 350 for the club. That's pretty good if you ask me. Obviously, Dylan Turnbull actually now eclipsed by Matusovic. In terms, no, I've lied. Turnbull's got 100 more. We've got ahead of ourselves. No, Turnbull with 387 appearances is actually third. Morrigan, 394 appearances for that man. I'm sorry that we replaced you this most recent year, but you've been a fine servant to the club. I mean, looking across this team here, it's a very, very strong 11 in truth. I love the fact that on the bench, though, there are some of those lesser names. There is the likes of Zach Gannon. You might remember him. He only played for us for a few seasons, really. I think he was frequently a loanee, if I'm going off my memory correctly. Andre Dezell in there. Shuttleworth with 242 appearances absolutely deserves a spot. Kumwenda with 129 goals is in there. Leighton Stewart with more goals than Kumwenda, but actually played significantly more matches as well. For some reason I thought that Leighton Stewart had a way better goals per game ratio, but apparently I'm mistaken. And in fact, the player with the highest average rating is Andre Dezell, I want to say. Yeah, Andre Dezell, followed by Henry Kumwenda. Oh, that's a bit of trivia. I wonder if anyone would have been able to guess that before we began this recording. Anyway, I have no idea. What's the History Players tab? Is this just all of the players who have ever played for us? What is this tab? Is this just... I think this is just all the players who have ever played for us. I did not know this tab existed. Oh, my word. I mean... This is more than just the first season. This is all the players ever. My word. I mean, it's a very laggy screen. So this is a list of every single Town Town player ever to play. I did not know this screen was a thing. Anyway, Roy Loy, current club is Town. He's obviously here as a coach. I'm just going to scroll through this. There might be some players you recognise. Obviously, a lot of these players have retired. The likes of Romario Vieira, Chanka Zimba in there as well. Luke Ferguson. Remember when he left us? Mr. International, still a coach at the club. You love to see. I'm sure there's names here that you're recognising that I don't recognise as a legend, because you kind of end up having your own little legends. Remember Donnelly Blackburn, the Ginger Ninja, Deshaun Bernard. Who else have we got here? Turno Ballo, he was a flop, wasn't he, back in the day? Mampala at the club as a coach. Walton at the club as a coach now. Brandon Williams, of course, played for us a little bit. Jamal Lewis too. You get on to, now the actual players who are still active. Players like Big Mike. Oh, my word. He was our first season goalkeeper. That's a throwback. Caval, a player who came for our academy, never quite made that step up. Trying to avoid mentioning players we've already looked at here. But my word, this is a comprehensive list. This is like Nostalgia Central. I feel like this is a very good screen to end on, actually, as we scroll through. Kind of makes you realise just how many players have played for the club over the years and done so much. A-Up, making an appearance there. I love to see it. Matino never made an appearance to the first team. He's still out on loan. Vasily Ignatovic now tearing it up for Zenit in Russia. I like that a lot. Man, this is really weird. It's like... This is quite a nice time capsule of the save game, I feel like. There is names here that I genuinely don't remember as well, but that probably kind of sums up just how many years we've got through here over, well, our time at Towlaw. We're only on coming up to the midfielders now, which is absolutely crazy as well. Man, this is crazy. CC's there, Alex Blesser, remember we signed him for a little bit. Jan Matcher and Adrian Highland. Volta, you got the final goal of the series. Fair play to you, son. Fair play to you. Oh, my word. Oh, I feel overwhelmed, everyone. Dimitriou, remember him? He was signed at the same time as Shvetsov. We thought he'd be the next great thing. He turned out to be absolutely rubbish. We sold him on for a little bit of money. I don't even think we got a sell-on clause from him. Interested to see how Benny Boy gets on in the coming years. You can see here, oh my word. This is just incredible to look through. It just makes me oddly nostalgic. Oh, wow, 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 wow. I mean, it's something, innit? It's something. Eric is there. Remember Eric? Gerardo Bravo. People always ask me, what happened to that player you sold for 10 million to Real Madrid? I'll tell you what happened. He ended up playing for Cadiz. We got the better of that deal, I think. Oh, we're at the bottom. We're at the bottom. It's a sight. That is, I mean, how many players are here? I can't actually select them. That's a shame. I wanted to control, well, just shift click and work out how many players had ever played for us. Oh, it's something, isn't it? It's something. Oh, I feel like that's the best thing to end on, really. As I said, I tried to be quite comprehensive here, but you could clearly go for a save like this game for absolutely years. But I hope this was a good way to kind of take a trip down memory lane. Just as a reminder, midday on Saturday, British summertime, the time that this video would normally go up. You know my upload schedule, I think, by this point. We're going to be live on Twitch going through the save game. It would be lovely to have you there. I will endeavour to upload a little reminder video to YouTube at the time saying, hey, we're live on Twitch going through Tower Law. But in that video, you know, we'll look through specific players, look through specific history. If you guys want to see, I feel like I've done such a good job here that hopefully I've answered many of the questions that people will ask. But I'm sure there is stuff that I have glossed over that we can take a deeper look into. But anyway, that's going to wrap up things for me today. I hope this was a good way to end the series. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your support. You guys have been absolute heroes over the course of this save game. I know a lot of people tell me, you know, Jack, this series has really helped me through, you know, 2020 so far. And to be honest, it's helped me through it as well. Not just the save game itself and the video itself, but your guys' support. As I mentioned, tomorrow got a big announcement coming. Keep an eye on it. It'll be up at the usual Tower Law Town upload time of midday on Wednesday. I will maybe add an end card thing pointing to that video. So if you're watching in the distant future, you know what that big video was, although I suspect you will find out already if you're somehow at the end here. But anyway, there is one last thing to do as manager of Tower Law Town, and that is click this big teal button. So let's click it, let's resign. The game is now going to consider what the hell has just happened. He's resigning, this isn't meant to be it. He's not meant to stop playing our game. But no. Our time here at Tower Law Town is done, and I think I said it last episode, but I need to say it again. I will go on without Tower Law Town. I'm not sure if Tower Law Town will go on without me. We will be holidaying into the future, seeing how they get on. Who is going to be our replacement? Who's the favourites? Luis Enrique is up there, which, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad replacement, would it really? I love the fact we've resigned and immediately I'm told, maybe you should unfollow Tower Law Town. It's like a really bitchy breakup, isn't it, with a partner? Yep, unfriend them. You don't need to hear from them anymore. But no, I do need to hear from them again. You can see here, 14 staff members have decided to walk. Craig Fletcher, assistant manager, unsung hero, man of the save game. Thank you, Craigie. Been here since the very, very beginning. Cristiano Ronaldo leaving, Pogba leaving. I'm glad that they have our backs. Thank you, Ronaldo. Great player for us. I was about to say great player for us over the year. Great player for us over the years in our, you know, coach five-a-side tournaments against other Premier League teams' coaching staff. But no, the time has come to move on, and I'm excited to see what Tower Law Town do without me. If you've got any bold predictions, leave them in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it. Thank you so much for your support. You guys are absolute legends. I'll see you again on the next one. It is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.